Hi guys, Christy here. I wanted to follow up on a previous video I recorded that was talking you through buying your first student flute, and I wanted to bring to you a small word of caution and some tips for buying flutes online and looking out for flutes online. Now, I mentioned in a previous video that I have 9 characteristics of a good student flute. And I believe there are some flutes out there that don't meet these criteria and that you can eliminate from your search. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell you to buy one flute or another flute. That's not what it's about, but I do want to make sure that you get a flute that allows you to grow with your flute playing capabilities, and that won't hold you back, and that ultimately you won't need to upgrade to another flute soon after purchasing, your first flute. That we get, some life out of this flute for a couple of years of playing. So some things to look out for if you're an inexperienced player buying a flute online is to be aware of very cheap metal flutes that are advertised by online retailers. And I'm talking about new flutes that are, less than about $300 or so. So something we need to look out for is the material that a flute is made out of. Most good quality student flutes from reputable manufacturers, they're made from nickel silver, and that's an alloy of copper, of nickel and zinc, and that's then plated with silver. This is a really common material that's used. It's cheap, it's durable, and it still produces a really nice, reliable sound, and it's great for student use for all those reasons. One material that you might find in these very cheap metal flutes online is something called Coupro nickel, or an alloy that's copper and nickel. It's also called white copper. So this is then plated with nickel silver or nickel, and they can quite often be coloured. And I've spoken about or written about in previous blogs how material can influence the tone of the flute. And you'll find that the tone or the sound quality of these flutes is unlikely to be as good as a flute that's made from a genuine manufacturer from quality materials. So keep that in mind, because that might hold you back in your tone production and your maturing of your tone. You should also be careful because some of these very cheap flute technicians may be hesitant to work on them, or there may just be a limit to what they can do. If you are finding that your flute is cheap up front, it may require ongoing maintenance and ongoing repair because rods and keys are breaking or snapping or bending, and you need to spend quite a bit of money over its lifetime to have it being in a playing condition. So that's just something to be mindful of, that it might be cheap up front, and I know it's a temptation to buy something that's cheap or the best value, but in the long term it might end up costing you more. Online, you do need to be careful as well. Some flutes are marketed as generic models of a reputable manufacturer or a reputable brand. You must be careful of these. These are essentially counterfeit instruments. They're not made with any of the quality materials, quality parts that a genuine flute is made out of. So if you see anything that's the generic model of brand X, I would say stay away. Once again, you'll get technicians that might be hesitant to move forward with repairing and servicing these instruments, as they're not necessarily able to offer you a warranty on those repairs or guarantee that they will stick. And if there's a breakage or something like that during repair, they might not be able to get parts, and so your flute is rendered unplayable. So keep in mind, these are just some things to look out for. You can obviously buy any flute that you like, and most of these flutes, even though they may be cheaper, they will make a sound, you will be able to play them. But if you're a serious beginner and you want to advance in your playing, you do need a flute that enables you to do that. You need a flute that is of sufficient quality that you can upgrade it, as I've spoken about in a previous video, and just give yourselves options to extend its lifetime and to mature as a flute player. So keep these points in mind as you're shopping online. I know that online shopping is just this big beast and we all do it, and you do find the best specials quite often online. So I hope this has helped reassure you about some of the flutes that you're seeing in your search, and that you can strike them off the list because they're not going to meet the 9 criteria I've spoken of before of a good quality student flute that will stand the test of time and serve you well. Bye for now, guys.